The 1-Minute Manager by Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson. Ever wonder what separates a truly inspiring leader from just another boss? Picture this: a young man, frustrated and confused, traveling the world on a quest to find the answer. First, he met the hard-nosed executives. You know the type. Results, results, results. Their companies thrived, but their people? Miserable, stressed out, burned out, walking on eggshells every single day. Then he discovered the complete opposite: the warm, friendly, participative managers. Their teams loved coming to work, but the results? Let's just say mediocre would be generous. The young man felt stuck. It seemed like you could either be a results machine or a people person, but never both. He was ready to throw in the towel. But then he heard whispers, rumors really, about someone special in a nearby town, a manager whose team was crushing their numbers and somehow loving every minute of it. It sounded like a fairy tale. Skeptical but curious, the young man picked up the phone. The secretary patched him through immediately, and the manager cheerfully agreed to meet any time except for a brief window on Wednesday morning. That phone call changed everything. The 1-Minute Manager by Drs. Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson isn't just some management book collecting dust on a shelf. This deceptively simple story became a cultural phenomenon, selling millions of copies and revolutionizing how we think about leadership. It presents 3 techniques so straightforward you might think they're too simple to work. Spoiler alert, they absolutely work. Today, we're taking that journey alongside our curious young seeker. We're going to discover those 3 secrets together. And here's my promise. By the end, you won't just know how to lead others better. You'll know how to manage yourself better too. These aren't complicated corporate theories requiring an MBA to understand. They're simple actions that take about a minute, but create impact that lasts forever. Walking into the manager's office, the young man immediately noticed how peaceful everything felt. No clutter, no chaos. The manager himself radiated this same calm energy. Direct, but somehow warm at the same time. The young man dove right in with his questions, trying to figure this guy out. So are you one of those participative managers? On the contrary, the manager replied with a slight smile. I don't believe in participating in my people's decision-making. Wait, what? The young man's brain scrambled to recalibrate. Okay, so you're all about results then? No! The sharpness in his voice was startling. How on earth can I get results if it's not through people? I care about people and results. They're inseparable. He gestured to a small plaque on his desk. People who feel good about themselves produce good results. Mind-blowingly obvious, yet somehow revolutionary. The young man nodded slowly, processing. So helping people feel good about themselves is the key to getting more done? Exactly, the manager agreed. But when asked to describe his management style, the answer was puzzling. I'm a 1-minute manager. A what now? It sounded like some kind of gimmick, honestly. The manager explained that he got big results from people in very little time. The young man's skepticism must have been written all over his face, because instead of launching into a defensive explanation, the manager did something unexpected. You'd better talk to my people if you really want to know what kind of manager I am. He slid over a list of 6 names. Pick anyone. Talk to one or all of them. The young man hesitated, used to being told exactly what to do. Well, who should I start with? The manager's tone shifted, becoming almost sharp. I don't make decisions for other people. Make that decision yourself. Frankly, young man, I find that annoying. Do not ask me to repeat myself. Ouch. The silence that followed was thick and uncomfortable. Just as quickly, though, the warmth returned. The manager shook his hand. told him he admired his desire to learn, and offered the concept of the 1-minute manager as a gift passed down to him. So, slightly dazed and definitely intrigued, the young man began meeting with the team. First up was a guy named Mr. Trinnell. "He told you about being a 1-minute manager, didn't he?" Trinnell asked with a knowing grin. "It's true, I hardly ever see him." "So you get no help from him?" the young man asked, confused. "Essentially very little," Trinnell replied. "Although he does spend time with me at the beginning of a new task. That's when he does 1-minute goal setting." And there it was, the first secret. The first secret, 1-minute goals. "Here's something wild," Trinnell explained. "In most companies, if you ask an employee what their job is, then ask their boss the same question, you'll get two completely different answers. People get in trouble for not doing things they didn't even know they were supposed to do. It's like playing a game where nobody tells you the rules. But here, no surprises. Ever. The 1-minute manager makes crystal clear what each person is responsible for and what they're being held accountable for. The process is almost embarrassingly simple. For each major responsibility, the manager and employee agree on a goal together. Then, they write it down on a single sheet of paper. Here's the kicker. It can't be more than 250 words. Simple enough that anyone can read it in under a minute. Both people keep a copy. This isn't about drowning in paperwork. It's about absolute clarity. They use the 80/20ths rule, focusing on the 20% of goals that will produce 80% of the results. Usually that means just 3 to 6 core goals per person. The young man got it, so everyone knows what's expected from the beginning. "Exactly," said Trinnell, "but there was more. It wasn't just about knowing your duties. It was about knowing what good performance actually looks like." Trinnell shared a story from when he was new. He ran into a problem he couldn't solve, so he went to the 1-minute manager. "Sir, I have a problem." Before he could continue, the manager replied, "Good, that's what you've been hired to solve, and then just stop talking." The silence was deafening. Trinnell stammered that he didn't know how to solve it. The manager invited him to sit down, but he didn't hand over the answer. Instead, he guided him through questions. "Tell me what your problem is, but put it in behavioral terms. What's happening in observable, measurable terms? Then, now tell me what you'd like to be happening in behavioral terms." When Trinnell couldn't answer, the manager said something sharp. "If you can't tell me what you'd like to be happening, you don't have a problem yet. You're just complaining. A problem only exists if there's a difference between what is actually happening and what you want to be happening." Suddenly, Trinnell knew what he wanted. The manager had him brainstorm solutions, challenging each one by asking, "If you did that, would what you want to happen actually happen?" After a few failed ideas, Trinnell came up with a solid plan himself. "Fantastic!" Trinnell exclaimed. "You solved my problem for me." The manager actually got annoyed. "I did not," he interrupted. "You solved it yourself. I just asked you questions that you're perfectly capable of asking yourself. Now get out of here and start solving your own problems on your time, not mine." But as Trinnell headed for the door, the manager looked him in the eye and said, "You're good, Trinnell. Remember that the next time you have a problem." Tough, but empowering. That was the essence of 1-minute goal setting. Not just writing things down, but creating clarity and ownership from day one. The summary of the first secret. 1. Agree on your goals together. 2. See what good behavior looks like. 3. Write each goal on a single sheet of paper in less than 250 words. 4. Read and reread each goal frequently, which only takes a minute. 5. Every once in a while, take a minute to check if your behavior matches your goal. Feeling enlightened, the young man moved on to the next person, a guy named Mr. Levy. Levy greeted him with that now familiar line, "He's quite a guy, isn't he?" And like Trinell, he confirmed he rarely saw the manager. "Yes, I know about 1-minute goal setting," the young man said, eager to show off his new knowledge. "Actually," Levy said, "I was thinking of something else. I was referring to 1-minute praisings." Hello, second secret. The second secret, 1-minute praisings. When Levy first started, the manager told him something crystal clear: "I want you to succeed. So I'm going to give you honest feedback. I'm going to let you know in no uncertain terms when you're doing well and when you're doing poorly." After setting 1-minute goals with Levy, the manager did something unusual. He stayed in close contact. He observed Levy's work and had him send detailed progress reports. "At first I thought he was spying on me," Levy admitted, "that he didn't trust me." "So what was he really doing?" the young man asked. Levy leaned in with a smile. "He was trying to catch me doing something right." Revolutionary, right? Most managers are experts at catching people screwing up. It's the gotcha style of leadership. But the 1-minute manager flipped that completely, operating on a different philosophy, summed up in their motto: help people reach their full potential. Catch them doing something right. So what happened when he caught Levy doing something right? "That's when he gives you a 1-minute praising," Levy said. The manager would walk over, maybe put a hand on his shoulder in a friendly way. He'd look him straight in the eye and tell him precisely what he did right. Not just "good job." Specific: "Levy, I saw how you handled that client complaint. You were patient, you listened, and you found a solution that made them happy. That was excellent." Then he'd share how he felt about it. "That makes me feel so proud, and it helps the whole team when we build trust like that." After that, he'd pause. Just a moment of silence. This pause was powerful. It gave the positive feeling time to really sink in, for Levy to absorb the praise. Finally, he'd encourage him to do more of the same and shake his hand, reaffirming they were on the same team. The whole thing often took less than a minute. Why did this work so well? First, the praise was immediate. Levy didn't have to wait for some annual performance review to find out he was doing well. Second, it was specific, so he knew it was sincere and knew exactly what behavior to repeat. Third, the manager was consistent. He gave praise for good work even when he was having a terrible day himself. But doesn't he have to do this constantly? The young man wondered. No, Levy explained. Just in the beginning, when you're learning something new, he's like a coach teaching you to swing a bat. At first, he praises you just for making contact with the ball, then for hitting it fair, then for hitting it into the outfield. He gradually shapes your behavior. After a while, Levy said, you learn to catch yourself doing things right. You start to praise yourself, and that internal motivation keeps you going, even when the manager isn't around. The second secret, simplified. 1. Tell people up front you're going to give them feedback. 2. Praise people immediately when you see good performance. 3. Tell them specifically what they did right. 4. Tell them how good you feel about it and how it helps the organization. 5. Pause for a moment of silence to let them feel it. 6. Encourage them to do more of the same. 7. Shake hands or touch them in a way that shows your support. The young man was fascinated. 1-minute goals set the target. 1-minute praisings encouraged people to hit it. But a question nagged at him. Did this soft approach actually work in the real world? Did it produce actual, bottom-line results? Time to find out. He postponed his next meeting and headed downtown to company headquarters. He met with an executive named Ms. Gomez and asked a simple question. Which of your operations is the most efficient and effective in the entire country? He was expecting to hear about some cutting-edge facility with the newest technology or the most aggressive manager. He actually laughed when he heard her answer. "You won't have to look very far," she said. "It's the 1-minute managers." His operation was the best, and get this, he had some of the oldest equipment. The young man, still looking for the catch, asked, "What about turnover? Does he lose a lot of people?" "Come to think of it," Ms. Gomez replied, "he does have a lot of turnover." "Aha," the young man thought, believing he'd found the flaw. "What happens to them?" "We give them their own operations to run," she said. "He's our best trainer of people. Whenever we need a good manager, we call him. He always has somebody ready." The young man was stunned. The system worked. It produced not just results, but leaders. He returned the next day, excited to learn the third and final secret from the last person on his list, Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown was an experienced woman in her late 50s. She knew the operation inside and out. Like the others, she confirmed she hardly ever saw the manager. She set her own 1-minute goals and even did most of her own 1-minute praisings. "So when do you see him?" the young man asked. "Essentially very little," she said, "except, of course, when I do something wrong." The young man was shocked. He thought the motto was to catch people doing things right. Ms. Brown explained that this was different. This was for experienced people. People who know how to do their job well, but make a mistake. "If I make a significant mistake," she said, "that's when I invariably get a 1-minute reprimand." Third secret, incoming. The third secret, 1-minute reprimands. The 1-minute reprimand, Ms. Brown explained, was swift and precise. As soon as the manager learned of a significant mistake, he'd come see her, he'd confirm the facts, then look her straight in the eye. No smile on his face. He'd tell her, in no uncertain terms, exactly what she did wrong. Then, he'd share how he felt about it. Angry, frustrated, annoyed, completely honest with his feelings. This first part of the reprimand took only about 30 seconds, but she said, "Sometimes it seems like forever to me." Then came another uncomfortable silence. He'd let his words sink in, letting her feel his frustration. Just as the young man was thinking how harsh this sounded, Ms. Brown described the second half of the reprimand. After the pause, the manager's entire demeanor would shift. He'd look her in the eye and let her know how competent he thinks she usually is. He'd reaffirm how much he valued and respected her. He'd say something like, "The only reason I'm this upset is because I have so much respect for you, and this is so unlike you." He made it crystal clear that he was reprimanding her behavior in this one situation, not her as a person. And then, it was over. Truly over. No grudge, no bringing it up later, clean slate. This is why it worked so powerfully. First, like the praising, it was immediate. He didn't save up grievances for a performance review, a practice called gunny sacking. He dealt with one behavior at a time, so the feedback was clear and fair. Second, he never attacked the person's worth. He separated the behavior from the individual. This is the crucial difference between a reprimand that builds someone up and criticism that tears them down. The message: your behavior wasn't okay, but you are okay. And third, he was consistent. The 1-minute reprimand, the young man realized, was the other half of the equation. It was the tough side to balance the nice side, but it wasn't tough on people. It was tough on poor performance. The third secret, summarized. The first half. 1. Reprimand people immediately. 2. Tell them specifically what they did wrong. 3. Tell them how you feel about it, in no uncertain terms. 4. Pause for a few seconds of uncomfortable silence to let them feel it. The second half. 5. Shake hands or touch them in a way that lets them know you're on their side. 6. Remind them how much you value them as a person. 7. Reaffirm that you think well of them, but not of their performance in this one situation. 8. Realize that when the reprimand is over, it's over. The young man had now learned all 3 secrets. He returned to the 1-minute manager's office, notebook full, mind racing. He told the manager what he'd discovered: 1-minute goals for clarity, 1-minute praisings for reinforcement, and 1-minute reprimands for correction. "I'm amazed at how simple it is," the young man said, "but I need to understand why it all works so well." The manager smiled. "The more you understand why it works, the more likely you are to use it." And then he began explaining the simple, profound psychology behind his methods. Why it all works. "Let's start with goals," the manager said. "I've never seen an unmotivated person after work. Everyone is motivated to do something. I once saw one of my worst employees at a bowling alley. He rolled a ball, got a strike, and he was screaming and jumping for joy. Why was he so excited?" "Because he knocked down all the pins," the young man replied. "Exactly. So why aren't people that excited at work?" The young man smiled, finally getting it. "Because they don't know where the pins are." The manager explained that this is the problem in most organizations. Managers know what they want, but they don't tell their people clearly. It's like bowling with a sheet hung up in front of the pins. You hear a crash, but you don't know how you did. The number one motivator of people is feedback on results, and you can't get feedback if you don't know the goal. 1-minute goals simply lift the sheet so everyone can see the pins. "Now, why do praisings work?" the manager continued. He told a story about training a pigeon to push a lever in a box. If you wait for the pigeon to do the whole task perfectly before giving it a food pellet, it will starve to death. Instead, you reward it for doing something approximately right. You reward it for just moving in the right direction, then for getting closer, then for touching the lever. You shape its behavior gradually. This is what trainers do with whales at sea parks. To teach a whale to jump high over a rope, they don't start with the rope high in the air. They start with it at the bottom of the pool. Every time the whale swims over it, it gets a fish. Then they raise the rope a little and a little more, until finally the whale is leaping spectacularly out of the water. The key to training someone to become a winner, the manager said, is to catch them doing something right in the beginning, approximately right, and gradually move them toward the desired behavior. This is the opposite of the common leave-alone zap style, where managers ignore people until they make a mistake, then punish them. That style creates fear and paralysis. Praising creates confidence and progress. Finally, the manager said, "Why do reprimands work?" They work because they're immediate, and they focus on a single behavior, not the person's worth. He told a story from ancient China about an emperor who decided to do all the rewarding while his prime minister did all the punishing. Soon, no one listened to the emperor, but everyone jumped when the prime minister spoke. The emperor, seeing this, switched roles. Within a month, the prime minister was the new emperor. The people had thrown the old one out. Why? Because when a leader is first tough on the behavior, then supportive of the person, it works. But when a leader who's always been nice suddenly gets tough, people resent it and reject them. The philosophy is tough and nice. Tough on the behavior, nice on the person. He shared a powerful, modern example, the crisis intervention method used to help alcoholics. Family members gather and, one by one, tell the person about specific, harmful behaviors they observed. Then they share how those behaviors made them feel: angry, scared, embarrassed. And finally, they touch the person and tell them how much they love them and want them to get well. This combination of confronting the behavior while reaffirming the person's worth, is incredibly effective at creating change. The core principle behind it all is a simple truth. We are not just our behavior, we are the person managing our behavior. When a manager understands this, they can correct poor performance without damaging a person's spirit. They can build people up, even when they have to be tough. The young man listened, completely captivated. All the pieces clicked into place. The 3 secrets weren't just techniques. They were a philosophy of leadership, rooted in clarity, respect, and a genuine desire to see people succeed. He looked at the 1-minute manager and said, "The power of your management style comes from one thing. You care about people." "Yes," the manager said simply. "I guess I do." The young man saw a job posting on his way out. He applied, and of course, he got the job. He worked there for some time, learning and growing. And eventually, the inevitable happened. He became a 1-minute manager himself, not because he talked like one, but because he behaved like one. He set 1-minute goals. He gave 1-minute praisings. He gave 1-minute reprimands. And most importantly, he encouraged the people he worked with to do the same, passing on the gift that had been given to him. What a simple, beautiful little story. When the 1-minute manager first came out, I think a lot of people in the business world didn't know what to make of it. It's so short, so easy to read, that it's tempting to dismiss it as simplistic. But that's where its genius lies. DRs. Blanchard and Johnson boiled down decades of research in medicine and behavioral science into 3 common-sense principles that anyone can use. The most powerful lesson for me, and the one that matters more today than ever, is the idea that clarity is kindness. Think about how much anxiety, stress, and wasted effort comes from people simply not knowing what's expected of them. We see it everywhere. In our jobs, in our schools, even in our families. We play guessing games, trying to figure out what our boss or teacher or parents want. The first secret 1-minute goals cuts right through that noise. It says, let's stop the games. Let's agree on what we're trying to do, write it down so we don't forget, and then get to work. Imagine the creative energy that would be unlocked if everyone operated with that level of clarity. The second lesson that resonates so deeply is the shift from a deficit mindset to a positive one. Our culture is obsessed with criticism. We're experts at finding flaws. We look for what's wrong. The 1-minute praising flips that completely. It asks you to become a detective for what's right. The motto, "Catch them doing something right," is a call to action. It forces you to look for the good, to acknowledge progress, and to build on strengths. This isn't just a management technique. It's a way to be a better parent, a better friend, a better human being. It's about building people up, not tearing them down. And finally, the 1-minute reprimand teaches us how to handle mistakes with dignity and respect. It's a masterclass in separating the action from the person. So often, when we have to correct someone, we make it personal. We attack their character. The reprimand shows us a better way. Be tough on the behavior, but always, always be supportive of the person. It acknowledges that good people sometimes make bad choices, and that a mistake doesn't define them. When the reprimand is over, it's over. This principle of forgiveness and moving forward is desperately needed in a world that loves to hold on to grudges. So how can you start applying these ideas right now, today? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. 1. Set one 1-minute goal. Don't try to overhaul your whole life. Just pick one thing. Maybe it's a school project, a fitness goal, or a chore you keep putting off. Take out a piece of paper and write down, in less than 250 words, what success looks like. What will you do, and by when? Put it somewhere you can see it and read it every morning for a week. See what that clarity does for you. 2. Give one 1-minute praising. For the next 24 hours, actively look for an opportunity to catch someone doing something right. It could be a classmate, a sibling, or a parent. When you see it, don't just let the moment pass. Stop, look them in the eye, and tell them specifically what they did and why you appreciate it. Mom, dinner was amazing tonight. I know you're tired, and it means a lot that you still made such a great meal. Watch what happens. 3. Practice the self-reprimand. The next time you mess up, and you will, because we all do, try the technique on yourself. First, acknowledge the mistake honestly. I procrastinated on that assignment, and now I'm stressed. That was a poor choice. Feel the frustration for a moment. Then, immediately shift. Reaffirm your worth. But I'm a capable person, and I can fix this. This mistake isn't who I am. And then, move on. Let it be over. This little book is a gift. It reminds us that leadership isn't about being complex. It's about being human. It's about taking a minute to set clear goals, a minute to praise progress, and a minute to correct mistakes with respect. It's about realizing that the best minute you spend is the one you invest in people. That was a summary of The 1-Minute Manager by Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson. We've covered the core ideas today, but honestly, a summary is like looking at a postcard of the Grand Canyon. It gives you the idea, but it can't compare to the experience of standing on the edge yourself. The real magic of this book is in its simplicity and the way its story settles into your mind. This summary is here to help you decide if this journey is for you. If anything we talked about today struck a chord, if you feel a pull toward a simpler, more effective way of leading and living, then I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning a few techniques. It's an experience that can genuinely shift how you see yourself, your work, and the people around you. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you something to think about, I'd be so grateful if you'd hit that subscribe button. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another foundational book that's shaped the minds of great leaders and thinkers. Let's keep learning and growing together.